I'm Jason Hudson from 10ZiG Technology, and today we're going to look at creating a dedicated Amazon Workspace custom shell for our 10ZiG Windows-based thin clients. Creating a custom shell gives us the ability to launch our user's desktop to run a single application at login, so that our end users only get access to what they need and nothing more. It also gives your system engineers and administrators a more controlled and secure desktop environment to set up and manage. It is also quite easily maintained should you need to change the applications your users need access to in the future. We are going to be using the 10ZiG Universal Write Filter or UWF wizard for this. That comes as part of the Windows 10ZiG client build. On our 10ZiG Windows client desktop, if we show hidden icons at the bottom right of our screen, we can see the UWF icon in there. And if we right-click on it, we have the option to select the configuration item. So we'll click this and the UWF wizard will be displayed. Once inside the wizard, you will see the UWF status tab as the initial display, and that this version of Windows is using Shell Launcher version 2. Shell Launcher 2 enables us to run UWP or Universal Windows Platform apps that can take advantage of secondary views and run on multiple monitors if required. For this demonstration, we will be setting up a dedicated Amazon Workspace shell so that our user has specific access only to this environment after they have logged on. To begin with, we need to specify our default shell to be explorer.exe, so we have the ability to still control the Windows environment should we have any problems. So we click on Open File and select explorer.exe from within the Windows folder, and then click Default Shell. You will be asked if you're sure, so we click Yes. We are then informed that we need to reboot the thin client for these changes to take effect. We don't want to reboot just yet, so we click No. Now we need to set a specific shell to launch for our user named thin client user. We do this by selecting our local user from the drop-down list and then browsing for our application we wish to run each time that user logs on. In this case, we need to go into C:\program files x86, Amazon Web Services Inc., and Amazon Workspaces, and then select workspaces.exe. We click Add Shell and answer Yes to the question, and click No because we don't want to reboot just yet. Now, in the Shell Launcher status window below, we click Enable, say Yes, and answer Yes to the reboot question, and wait for the client to boot back up again. Once the client has rebooted, if we go into the UWF configuration wizard again, we can see that the shell launcher status has changed to enabled, and that the default shell is now version 2, custom shell host.exe. If we click on the Custom Shells tab in the wizard, we can also see our newly created custom shell options for our thin client user. Now, to complete this configuration, we will run a batch script on the desktop that will set our thin client user to be the default user that logs on during boot up. This will customize the device so that it will perform in a kiosk type manner, so that each time it's powered on or rebooted, the user always comes back to their familiar desktop experience. We double click the thin client user auto logon script, press Y, and the thin client will reboot. Now that the device has rebooted, you can see it automatically logging on as thin client user that we specified by running the auto logon script earlier. Notice we are now presented with only a single application which allows us to register our Amazon Workspace. You need to key in the registration code that was given by your system administrator only once before you can log into your workspace. Now I can log in with my designated user and password. Notice that we also have the option to stay logged in. This will give you the opportunity to either just reconnect with a button click or key in your password at the start of your next session. Once logged in successfully, I get access to my Amazon Workspace Windows 10 desktop. Before we wrap up today's presentation, I'll show you how to simplify the login for other users by predefining the registration process and enabling them to log straight in without ever having to register the Amazon Workspace. System administrators can do this by logging on locally as the administrator, registering the Amazon Workspace like I did earlier, and this time saving the registration code so that we can capture the config files for other users' login sessions. I have performed a reset of our AWS app for our thin client user, just so you can see what happens after we capture and apply the config files. I will now log in as the administrator of the local machine and launch the AWS app again. Inside the Amazon Workspace app, we need to go into Settings, Manage Login Information, tick Remember Registration Code, and then click Close. We now need to enter our registration code as we did earlier and click Register again. Now, before we log in, we will close the AWS app and find where our saved registration details have been stored. I'm going to open a command prompt to do this, and then I'm going to change to the directory named c:\users administrator that I'm already in, app data, local, Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Workspaces. And you can see that there are two files in there. These are registrationlist.json and usersettings.json. These contain our registered Amazon Workspaces and can now be distributed by your system administrator to other users on this or other 10ZiG Windows 10 thin clients. I have written a batch script named distrib awsreg.bat that will copy these two files into the same location, but this time under our thin client user that logs on locally. Once I run this, you can see that those two files are now under the thin client user subfolder. Now, if we log on as thin client user again, and wait for our Amazon Workspace app to launch automatically, as we specified in our custom shell, notice we don't have to provide our registration details and can just simply log in as we did before. This concludes today's demonstration on how to build a custom shell for an Amazon Workspace connection on your 10ZiG Windows 10 thin client. I hope you enjoyed the session, and remember, if you have any questions regarding this or related topics, then please contact your 10ZiG team or visit the website at www.10zig.com.